All right, guys. Today I have a special guest, Tristan Boyer, with me. Actually, he's right now ATP 230, and yeah, it's so nice to have you, and I appreciate you
Thank you for
coming
having me.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the first one. We call this Tennis House the Journey, and the message behind it is, to highlight and be around the players that are like from 200 or 150 to like 600 and lower ranked. And yeah, so let's get straight to it. So just a general question, yeah, like how did you start, and when did you start? Just a little bit. When you were a kid, did your
Yeah,
parents coach you, or how did it go?
yeah. I mean, my parents introduced me to tennis. My dad worked in it a little bit, but I played a bunch of different sports and from a young age. I just always liked tennis the best. I was always the best at it, and I just continued with it. Throughout like high school. When I was in middle school, I left went to online school, so that was like really when I committed, I guess, kind of fully to it. Went to online high school. Yeah, and then played through college, and now I'm playing pro.
Okay. All right, let's go. When did you know, before we get to the college years, when did you know that you're good enough? That's it's a big thing for junior kids, when do I know I'm good enough for, like, let's say D1 or like, D2? So what age did you know that that's your direction you're heading to?
I mean, I think the time that I really committed was when I left middle school to go to online high school. So that
Okay.
was when I was 13 or 14. It was right after eighth grade. So that was when I kind of was like, I'm really gonna try this. Like I'm really having a lot of fun, and I'm like doing pretty well in national tournaments. Like I think I can be like a good player. Um, at least like a D1 college player. So might as well try it. So that was really when I like fully decided, because otherwise I would have just stayed at regular high school if I didn't think that I could
Yeah.
have been good.
All right.
So yeah, so I would say then probably 13, 14.
13, 14. Okay. And when you played the junior tournaments, did you play like the USTA tournaments only, or did you play some UTRs, or like what did you?
UTRs kind of weren't really around yet. They kind of started a little bit later. There wasn't really a lot of UTR was existed as just the rating system. They weren't actually running tournaments yet. So I think I would have loved to play some of those because um, you get to play like people who are your level, obviously, but like of a different age, kind of like different levels of experience,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So I think those are great. But unfortunately, I played a lot of ITF. I started out with the ITFs pretty early. I was able to travel, fortunately, so I was able to play like some ITFs and just start on that circuit earlier. Um, so that yeah, I started playing ITFs when I was, I mean, 15, like early 15, maybe even late 14.
Okay.
Um, but then yeah, before that, I was just playing
The
like the,
nationals, USTA level
yeah,
L1 tournament, LT, like level one
yeah,
level tournaments.
yeah, just starting in SoCal, and I played some regionals and nationals. I always
Yeah.
played sectional SoCal. Yeah, I played maybe when I got to like 14, 15, I started playing some men's opens. My coach wanted me to play some like
Yeah.
some older players, more experienced players, so I played some men's opens.
So the guys
Um,
that slice back and then do some
yeah,
other stuff then.
exactly. Yeah, they know all that crafty stuff. So yeah, so yeah,
All right, cool.
so I started doing it.
And then all right, so you played for Stanford, and like there's so many college guys and girls like that come to the tour now and they're successful. One of them is my friend Dominic Kupfer, who played here at Tulane. And there's so many success stories with college. And yeah, do you like? How do you see that as a stepping stone to become professional tennis player?
I mean, I think college is an awesome life decision. That's kind of why I made it. It's such a great option to be able to. I mean, you can really use it how you want. A lot of guys need like a couple years maturing. Like going straight to the futures circuit at 18 is like a grind. You're still young. Like maybe you haven't really matured. You don't really have any like like life experience. I guess you probably haven't done that much off tennis court. Um, and so it's a good way. It's a good place to just kind of go and like keep playing matches and kind of like learn a little bit about I guess how you like to train, like how you can motivate yourself. You really need to be self motivated. Obviously, there's three coaches for like 15 guys, so you know there's not a lot of like people like forcing you to kind of like train.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good for that. And then obviously you get an education. It's important if something goes wrong and your tennis career, like it's great to have a
Yeah.
backup plan that kind of takes off a lot of stress. Um, in my career, I kind of like, I mean, I think of that as a big advantage for myself, like over guys who didn't go to college having like a backup is that, you know what I mean? Like I'm able to like, I mean, you know, it's like it's not like as dire of a situation for me. Yeah, you know, it's I'm able to take off.
Yeah.
I'm able to de-stress by thinking that kind of like and I have another option.
No, that's
So
important.
yeah,
Education
yeah,
is super important. And then in our days, when you look at all the universities, first of all, as you said, you have the matches you play, they're high quality. I mean, all the best kids around the world, they come and play college. So you guys have day in and day out great matches, which is so important, and I feel like during the junior years, from like 10 to 18, I don't know if the kids play enough match play and train enough. So, then once you get to college, you have the luxury, and then you have a great staff at the highest level university, like Stanford, like you guys, great physios, great fitness coaches, and whenever you need something and you really want to put the work like in, they take care of you. That's what I like about, the college aspect, because it got so professional that it's like really amazing to watch, So I live in Louisiana. From Europe. I've never been to college matches before, and then I go every now and then to watch LSU, and it's just fun. Like the atmosphere is fun. And what are like two, three things you learned during those college years that you think gonna help you or helping you already, like during the professional career?
yeah. I think I wouldn't say that the quality of like the coaching staff and like the training is as good as it's going to be professionally. I think that like people know what they're doing more on the pro circuit, but I definitely think that like you said, like having like a team, especially paid for like a young
Hmm.
player, is like really huge, and it's a great place to kind of like you know like take advantage of
Hmm.
in the ways that you need to. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to your question, I think um, um,
Like the three, like three things, that will help you. You think during
yeah,
your career that you learned, like in college or like on those
yeah,
years.
yeah, for sure. I think that I really like was able to like find some balance in my life between kind of tennis and my off court life. I think like coming from juniors where it was basically all tennis. Like I was traveling a lot. Um, and like playing all the tournaments and like training really really hard like basically
Hmm.
like a professional and then going to college and like having to manage schoolwork and like having like friends who didn't play tennis and like having stuff to do off court was a little bit like my tennis maybe suffered a little bit, especially my freshman year. But like being able to find like a balance between those two things and then enjoy those two things and like learning how to enjoy tennis a little bit more, that was really, really important. And college helped a lot with that. I didn't really complete that. I still kind of struggle with that even going into pros. Took a little longer. But it definitely was like a first step in kind of like going from like this ultra professionalism that I had in juniors to like, okay, you need to have like a little bit more balance. And like otherwise it's impossible to like be happy as a person
Yeah.
and like perform well and under those circumstances. You're just gonna burn out like pretty quick. Um, so yeah, that was the biggest thing. Self motivation is a huge one for a lot of guys. I think I didn't struggle with that as much because I it's just who I am. Like I'm a pretty generally don't need to be pushed like super hard by a coach or like
Hmm.
anyone outside of myself. I'm pretty
Hmm.
motivated normally. But a lot of guys struggle with that. So I think that's a big one. Um,
What about the
Professionalism
team
in
aspect?
general. Yeah, I mean, I didn't do great with that to be honest. So um,
I
I wouldn't
like
say it was a takeaway for me personally. But yeah, I
that.
mean, playing like I think it kind of relates a little bit to like the balance. Um, it's not the exactly same thing, but like taking like kind of getting out of your like ultra focused like
Mhm.
hyper like specific kind of mindset of like this is all about me. I'm going to do everything I can just play tennis.
Hmm.
The team, obviously, you're still tennis, but you're kind of like, it's not 100% about me. I mean, to kind of focus on other people a little bit, help support them, make sure they're like, enjoying and like being the best they can be. Um, which is very hard for tennis players to do. Obviously, you don't have any experience with it. I didn't have any experience with it going into college because I played team events. I mean, I played, 3 in my career in the Junior Davis Cup and Youth Olympics or something. But yeah, that's definitely different. And yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, I mean, I know a lot of people who went to school and who say, yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. That's what I enjoyed the most. I
Yeah.
mean, again, like, I mean, I love the guys who I was working on the team, but I just didn't really deal with it that well.
Yeah.
I didn't like not being able to focus 100% on myself. Like,
That,
I
and
just
everyone is
didn't
different,
really,
and that's
yeah,
that's totally
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a huge one for sure. Yeah,
Okay. All right. That's okay. That's interesting. That's super,
yeah,
super interesting. That's all right. Let's start. I had a question when I looked at your schedule. So get a little bit into the pro tennis now this year. And you went to South America, India, USA, Europe, Canada, USA. So there are a lot of people out there, that are recreational players that are going to listen, like, and there are like, intermediate player, a lot of advanced players as well. But like people don't understand. How do you cope? It is so hard. All those continents and countries. How do you stay focused and how do you cope with that, all that travel stuff like during the year?
yeah. This is kind of like being, the last like 2 years, or even, I guess almost 3 years now, 2.5 years of being like a pro player is kind of the toughest part of it for me. I mean, is just being away so much and dealing with that, like with like the traveling constantly, like having to deal with my student family. That's been for me the toughest part, I think. I mean, it's tough to deal with. I think it's the hardest part of tennis for pretty much everyone. I don't think anyone's like, I'm seeing my family too much. You know what I mean? I have too much time off. Like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all the players struggle with it. Just because it's a brutal schedule. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's literally like 11 months of the year. I mean, 10 and a half. You can stop in November if you want to, I guess.
Yeah.
But there are tournaments. Um, you know, 11 months of the year from January to mid-November. You can take a break whenever you want, but you're missing. You
Yeah.
know that you're
Losing
missing
point, missing
events. Yeah,
opportunities.
you're
Yeah.
missing opportunities. If you take time off, you're potentially, definitely not improving. You're maybe even losing a little bit of feeling. Um, so yeah, it's definitely tough. I think that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the balance. That's what something I've improved on a lot this year. I think is like being able to kind of like spend some time doing fun stuff off the court, making sure that I prioritize like going home a little more often. Last year
Yeah.
I was away a lot more than I have been this year. Um, but yeah, I think just trying to like keep keep the on court stuff on court, and then when you're off court, try to have some like you know type of like enjoyment and
Hmm.
balance. Like go enjoy the places where you're at. That's something I've been trying to do a lot more. Like sightsee a little bit.
Yeah.
Try to have some more like social events. Um, but it's tough to manage. That really makes it better. But if you're 100% tennis all the time, it's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
Really, really tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you just have to manage as much as you can. But it's really the toughest part of tennis for sure, in my opinion, is being away so much.
Okay. When you do your schedule, like, first of all, do you travel with like a team, or do you travel with friends who are close in the ranking and you guys decide, hey, we're gonna go there and there and there? When I played just futures, but like we went to places, where I thought I can get easy points, but I don't know if that still exists. When I looked at your schedule, I don't know if in India if it's easier than playing a challenger in the US. But when I was playing a little bit, that was the case. Is that still saying like the same? You go a little bit further where you try to get maybe like the points a little bit easier than if you would play somewhere where the density is just like,
Yeah, Yeah, no, you for sure consider that. I mean, I more went there because that was the hardcore place where I could like get in with my ranking to main draw. So I mean, it's basically the same thing. The tournaments end up being weaker, obviously, because I can get in. But yeah, that was, I mean, pretty much. Um, I'd obviously rather like go if I'm going to be like, I mean, if I'm going to be, I mean, I guess if I'm going to be main draw either way, then it's I would I'd probably rather just go to the closer one, like
Yeah.
whatever's the easiest travel wise, maybe the nicest tournaments. But like those were the only hardcore tournaments that I would have, the ones in India, let's say, or um, I mean, the hardcore swing in the US was what it was. But yeah, I mean, the ones in India were the only hardcore ones that I would have gotten into. I
Hmm.
was just a Davis Cup hitting partner in Europe. So that
Hmm.
also worked out because I was already halfway there, basically.
Hmm.
So the flight was a little bit easier. Um, and so yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's in the consideration. Obviously, playing the schedule is another really tough thing about tennis because there's so many factors to consider. You got to consider surface, like travel time. You got to consider like the players who are going to be there, like
Hmm.
timing of the year, like timing with the training blocks, like whether you can bring a coach or like what the situation is, like how nice the hotel is and weather, like food options. So there's a whole bunch of like stuff that you got to kind of take into account. So that was just ended up being the best option. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that obviously where you feel like you can do the best is
Where you
is
go.
yeah, is where you go.
And so when you say, for example, let's pick the India one because I just had like did someone else from the US went there or like you had someone you knew
Um,
there and then you maybe how is it with the hotels? You check with the others, hey, where are we gonna stay, or is it a player hotel usually, or how does that work? Because you don't want to be somewhere so far away and like
yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, I went with a physio there,
uh-huh,
from the group that I work with in Argentina. So
uh-huh,
that was who I travel with. I mean, I didn't look at the list in terms of like people who I knew. I ended up knowing some people there, like you always do.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then for challengers, they provide you with hospitality. So it's obviously better to stay at the official hotel where you have free
Yeah.
nights.
Is it when you're out,
Yeah.
you have still like 40, is it like at the other tournaments, you have like 48 hours and then you have to be out after you're out or you have to leave immediately?
Um, no, it's actually for the challenge for the if you're in the main draw, you get 5 nights
Okay, cool.
guaranteed. Yeah, so it starts on Saturday and goes through, I guess it would be Thursday.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
that's really good. And then I mean, I think in India, I probably would have, even if it was futures, I would have stayed at the official hotel just to not really risk it. But like at the Grand Slams where they give you a stipend
Yeah.
instead of having a hotel, I've been doing well, Paris, I had an apartment, and um Wimbledon I stayed with some family. I guess that doesn't really count. But yeah, Paris I did an apartment. In the US I did a digital hotel. That's just Manhattan
Yeah.
stuff.
The
But yeah,
Barclay.
but
I was at the Barclay there.
nice. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends if it's like if it's a stipend situation for
Yeah.
the slams, then I'll like consider an apartment, like,
Okay.
especially if I'm traveling with a coach, which I am. I mean, for slams I am.
All right. So they're talking about the slams. So they're up the price money, and if you, I think, how much is it the first? Like if you qualify, you get 100 grand first round, I think, right? And then qualifying what
Yeah,
25, 30 something, and 50 something, I think. So is that
yeah,
kind of,
it's pretty good. I
yeah?
mean, I think it's a little less than that. For I think main draw is like 80 from what
Okay.
I've been kind of hearing, and then I got. I mean, it's probably 18 for.
Okay. For the
I mean,
first,
18. Yeah, 18 into my account
yeah. For the first.
for Wimbledon and French, and then
Okay.
US will be a little more because it's less tax for me. But
Yeah. So
uh,
the prize money. So, like I just checked you like you want you want a challenger. Was it this year you get like that
yeah,
like 5.6K. So
yeah,
that's my thing. Let's get into that. Winning a challenger is so tough and
yeah,
it just a hustle and grind, to go to those and play them. I have friends who played 15 years challengers who didn't make it, top 100 or 150. I know how tough it is. So when I see 5.6, as a coach and as a friend of many players, it's still on the Challenger Tour. I don't know. I think still it's for me it's a joke
Yeah,
because because the effort and work you guys put in and day out. And if you look at it this way, so let's say you're 240 in the world or 230, and the 230th best baseball player, NBA player, NHL player, how much money they get into their bank accounts. And I know TV and everything, I get that part, but I feel like the prize money situation and the challengers and especially futures, if you don't have any sponsors or not many, I think that has to still that people have to fight for that, and that has to improve. I mean, otherwise you guys are the base. You're right there, top 200, and then it goes up and up and up. But you guys make, there's still 1,300 players that are out there and they hustle every day. And then with the point system on the Challenger Tour, my friend Damir Zumo just won a Challenger before the US Open, got 125
yeah,
points. And then the second place gets 67. Why does it have to be 67? Why can't it be like
yeah,
85 or something? Like, what are your thoughts on like points, maybe a little bit? And I always get
yeah,
like when I talk about it, I always get like
yeah. You get worked out. I mean, dude, I obviously couldn't agree more. Like, they should they should pay us more for sure. Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
the challenges
totally.
are extremely. I mean, if you're playing a full schedule of challenge, you're I mean, if you don't travel with a coach and don't have a trainer, then you can maybe break even.
Yeah.
But if you want to have any type of team at all, like you're pretty much going to be in the red if you're not in slam queues, unfortunately. The slams have done. I mean, people like it's kind of a mixed bag. Like a lot of older players say like, oh, like like it's way better than when I was playing. Like they moved it up a lot, which they did, but it's still not great if you really
Yeah.
think about it. Like we're still only making 7.5% of revenue, versus I think Premier League's like 50%, which is absurd.
Yeah.
Um, or something crazy like that. So if you look at it that way, it's pretty bad. If you look at it like in terms of the distribution, even like, I mean, like there's an argument to be made about maybe shaving off some of the winners' prize money, moving it down to the first rounds. Um, you know, I don't know. I agree with that, but it's kind of up to you, I guess. But I mean, I think like any way you look at it, there should definitely be more money in the challengers.
Yes.
I think that they I mean, I don't know if this is verified, but I mean, the level of tournaments is the same, in terms of money. For the last 10 years, obviously, like that's so nothing has been adjusted for inflation now, from like 15 years ago. So that in and of itself is not good. So it should be, like 20% more just based on inflation. Um, but then also like, you're like, there should like, I don't know why there can't be like 500 male and female players who are breaking even playing tennis. Right now, it's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
200 maybe. Like golf does it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I totally agree with you that
Yeah, no, that's
it
why.
should
That's
be
why
more.
it's one reason why I want
Yeah,
to have a lot of you guys on. Like I feel like, and then they make it hard on the organization part of it as well to run a challenger. It's like if you look at the
yeah,
100 page, I don't know, I'm just exaggerating now, but it's a huge list, and I feel like it should be maybe a little bit easier to run a challenger tournament. So
yeah,
talking
potentially.
about challengers, do you feel like there's enough in the US like challengers
No,
to pick from?
no, this is another issue that the USTA really needs to kind of get their act together on this one because, well, I mean, it looks like we're doing great with, you know, we have 5 players in the top 20, which is awesome. But, um, if you compare the number of tournaments to Europe,
Like
um,
Italy, Spain,
yeah,
look
I
at
mean,
the Italy.
Italy, yeah, I mean, if you do it by geographical area, we should have the same amount. Just U.S. Content for the United States is the same size as Europe. If you do it by population, we should have half, which we're not even close. Um, so just kind of by any metric, we're extremely underpowered in tournaments. Like we just don't have enough.
Yeah.
The USTA, like, I mean, I don't know if you've been to the Orlando facility.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have taken some out for pickleball now, but I think there was 110 courts. It's
Yeah,
an
they have,
absurd
I mean,
facility.
yeah. Why can't
They
we?
have,
Why can't we
yeah,
run 2, 3, or every week one there? You know, like
yeah.
that. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean
funny.
whatever there are like 35 challengers in Italy. There's no reason why they shouldn't have like just like one every week or every other week
Yeah,
in Orlando. There are indoor courts. You could have indoor challenger in the winter. You could have green clay during the green clay swing. You could have red clay during the red clay swing. They have
yeah.
6 red clay courts. Um, so
That's
like
what
there's no reason to not do that. If
that's what Andy
facilities
Roddick
are
said
there,
in his
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
He's like, why can't we have one challenger, and that would make it so much easier, and all the young guys have it easier to break through. And then and then with the wild cards as well, the more tournaments you have, some players, will get some wild cards, and you have a good week, and you can make it, like you can get your points. All right, so yeah, so all that.
yeah,
Hopefully in the future, it's gonna change a little bit.
yeah.
All
Hopefully,
right, last few questions, Tristan. So like one, two things that you think to crack the top 100. I don't know if it's 100% correct. I think like six people enter the top 100 new a year or something. It's not a high number because once you're in there, you kind of, you know that. So
yeah,
what are like one, two things you think you need in your game or in general
yeah.
to get close to that?
I feel like tennis wise, like I think like I have like a pretty decent amount of weapons. Like I have I think like a good amount of options and kind of ways to win points. Like sometimes um I struggle with like kind of like being clear about how I want to play points and win points. So I think like being a little more clear on that.
Structure in your
Yeah. Yeah, kind of just like, on a big point like how I want to play this and how I can best utilize the options that I have in
Okay,
my game.
that's cool.
Um and then just a little more consistency in tournaments like winning four matches in a row. I think like if I have like string a few weeks together, I'll like gain more confidence and kind of keep that going. I've had like whenever I've in the past year and a half of kind of playing tournaments, I've had some like very good weeks and then kind of us like just not really followed it up even
Yeah.
in the following weeks. So yeah, kind of looking for that a little bit more. Um, Obviously it's kind of easy to say just win more matches, but but yeah, I mean I think those are the two things.
And then
Yeah,
when you played the Grand Slams this year, unfortunately you lost in the first round in qualifying, but do you think like in those specific moments, like do you feel like you put too much pressure on yourself to win, like, oh, I have to win, or like, I get more, like more points and I get closer to qualify. Do you put
yeah,
pressure on yourself a lot on those moments then, you think, or
yeah, big time. Yeah, I've had some like French Open especially was really bad. I got big slams and I was just like so much pressure on myself. Like really like had some terrible practices beforehand. Like just didn't really deal with it that well. So I
all
think
right, but you're
the
young.
more
You're gonna change that, so
yeah,
gonna look different already next year. But you're young, so
yeah,
that's
yeah, exactly. I think US was already a little bit better in terms of like practice before and just kind of like moving around that environment. Wimbledon too. So yeah, just the more experience I have with that, the better it'll get. But yeah, the first couple I didn't do it great.
that's all right. Next year it's
But it
gonna
happens, yeah.
already look different. All right, last question. When you practice, like I like always to ask my guests, like I have a little like a book then, like one drill you like to do on court, that you do very often that you like to do.
Yeah,
Anything that comes to your
two
mind.
cross two cross one line is my favorite.
All right, so the
Straight up.
straight up, like you
Straight
practice
up
that a
two
lot.
cross one line. Yeah, two cross one line is I just I feel like I move better after I feel more solid. That's what I do when my coach isn't there and I don't
Yeah,
really like have time to
typical pattern.
structure.
Most
Yeah,
important to be able to
yeah,
change down the line, especially on the backhand side. When
yeah,
you look at Sinner, how good he can change to down all of it, how he moves
yeah,
and how he can change. Okay, cool. All right, we
totally.
have that one. It's all right. It's all right. I'm gonna still get more. Like it's hard after 65 of those, like to get new ones. But one more,
Yeah.
maybe like anything else besides.
Yo, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for some new ones, let me think. I did one the other day. I did one with my old coach from Stanford, Horacio Mata. That was I think I forget exactly what it was. I think it was like I think it was like you start off with a cross, like you feed it cross, you go
Uh-huh.
down the line, you go like down the line heavy with the forehand. The guy hits it's a slice drill. The guy hits a slice cross short. You go slice line, and then the other guy goes like rips the forehand cross. So you're working on like your low like forehand cross
Okay.
off the slice, and then you're like slice off the high forehand.
Okay. I
That was
like
an
that.
interesting one that I've never seen before.
No, I like I
Um,
like I like that. As you said earlier, picking the right shot in the right moment, like and having
yeah,
a plan on, how to use your strength, against all those guys out
yeah,
there. No, that was awesome, Tristan, man. I can't
yeah,
thank you enough for doing that, man.
yeah. No problem, man.
You're the first one on that one. So I have like
No, I'm so glad. Honored.
12 lined up and awesome. And good luck for
Sweet,
for
man.
the rest of the year and hopefully I see you at one of the tournaments.
Awesome. Thank you very much.